Welcome back to Off the Docks. Today we're reviewing Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is going to be a spoiler review. If you guys haven't seen the movie, get the fuck out. I don't care. That's your only warning. We will be ruining the movie in like 3 seconds, so leave.
I mean, it's been a fucking month already. You should have seen it.
So I've seen Justice League like 13 times now.
I've seen it once.
I watched it way too many times, and I also watched the Justice is Gray version.
I haven't watched that version yet. I know they added like a bit.
Yeah, it's like a different version of the Joker scene. It's like 30 seconds of it is different.
Yeah, but other than that, the whole movie's the same.
Yeah, it's just black and white.
Yeah.
Which, it does look cool. I
do want to watch
prefer the color version. It's not, like a Logan type thing where like watching it in black and white changes everything about it.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because watching Logan in black and white is super cool. And I kind of prefer that version. I don't know why.
Although this black and white version kind of made me want a black and white version of Watchmen.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Even though Watchmen is incredibly like stylized and like really cool and all of its colors are very well used, I think a black and white version of Watchmen would just be trippy as fuck to watch.
It would be so weird.
So we're going to be breaking down all 6 chapters and the epilogue. Not like full breakdowns, but just talking about stuff we liked about each part of the movie.
We're going to try and go in order as best we can.
But we will get off topic, like we just did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Alright, so part 1 was Don't Count on It, Batman.
Yes.
So this is where we see Bruce looking to assemble the team. And we see Arthur for the first time in the movie.
Yeah. Well, actually, before we get into that, I just want to talk about the intro to the movie, because obviously already drastically different. It still counts as part 1, but it's technically like a prologue where you get a recap of the death of Superman at the end of Batman vs. Superman, but a new perspective where Superman, as he's being stabbed by Doomsday, he's yelling out, sending out sonic vibrations that you actually see in one of the trailers, and that's what's basically awakening the mother boxes that sets up this whole movie, is the death of Superman. And I thought that was really cool. Obviously, much better than the Superman intro we got in the theatrical version.
Yeah, I 110% agree. I didn't hate the Superman intro for the last one. It was mostly just the really, really weird CGI, and it just felt off with the rest of the tone for the opening.
Yeah, it was a cool idea, because I get what he was trying to do, which is, write a Superman that a lot of haters of the Man of Steel movies wanted, which was a more hopeful Superman, and that's what he tried to do with that. But it just felt way too disconnected from the rest of the movies.
Yeah, everything with Superman was much, much better in this cut. Just all the way around, the whole movie. But a lot of that, again, is because there was no CGI upper lip on Henry Cavill, which really hurt the movie, in my opinion. That was really hard to watch the first time I watched the movie.
It was just so distracting. I saw people, when they reviewed it, said they didn't notice it until someone said it, which I think is really weird. I watched that movie in theaters, and I noticed it straight away.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they used some of the scenes that Snyder shot as well in the theatrical cut makes it really bad, because you see the reshoots. Like, every time it is a reshoot, and the entire thing is shot in like a different format and a different color palette, and everything is completely changed, and Superman's face is different in between like shots, like in the same scene. There's like a shot of Snyder's Justice League and then a shot of Joss Whedon's reshoot, like side by side in the scene where Superman is resurrected. So it's like really, really bad.
It's very distracting.
I think that the intro we have now is much better, and it definitely just drops you immediately into like, this is Snyder's universe. Like, the second it starts, you're like, okay, shit's real. Yeah. Like, there's no time for you to be like, oh, this is like a cool song or whatever. You're just immediately dropped right back in the sadness for Batman vs. Superman. Yeah. And they act almost as if like no time has passed at all. Yeah, like, you're really just, bam, there you are. So the first time we see Arthur in this version is much better. There's way less like comedy, and it still has pretty much the exact same story beats. It's like the exact same footage.
Right.
It just doesn't have jokes. And to me, that is better. I like the more serious versions of Aquaman more. But not just that, I just thought the scene flowed better without the jokes. The jokes felt really like campy and awkward and like they were put in at the last second kind of thing.
Yeah. It's been a while since I saw the theatrical cut, so I can't exactly... I know there were differences in that scene, but the scene between Bruce and Arthur seemed to be the most similar.
Yeah.
One of the most similar things, even though they probably did cut out a lot of jokes or add in a lot of jokes, realistically. That one seemed the most similar to the original, to me anyways.
Yeah, that one was left surprisingly very untouched.
Yeah.
One thing I did like about that, though, was this, like, they created a cult-like following behind Aquaman, and, like, the people, like, sing songs about him, and they know him, and, like, they love him, and the girls, like, are all, like, worshiping him, and, like, the one girl picks up his shirt and is, like, smelling it, and, like, all that. It was like, really, like, surreal, but also, like, kind of cool to see, like, there's almost a religious level following around Aquaman in these places that no one else cares about except for him, kind of thing.
Yeah, I liked that they built, like, this weird cult following, especially in this one little town that he keeps visiting. And I did like the idea of, them singing the song for him as he goes away. But we've talked about it already, but I felt like the song portion of it was way too long.
Yeah, and there's like I noticed one part. I'll see if I can find it so I can cut it into the video. But I noticed one part in it that makes me laugh now every time I see it, even though it's supposed to be like a really serious thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like when all the girls are singing on the beach, there's one girl who hits this like unnecessarily talented run in the middle of the song.
I noticed that.
And it's now that I've heard it, I can't unhear it, and I laugh about it every time because I'm like, this girl went on set and just fucking nailed that shit for no reason in a completely unnecessary part of the movie. But
so funny, but yeah, I like the idea, but I think as soon as Bruce leaves,
the scene should have ended.
You should cut it because it goes on awkwardly long.
And I like the Bruce and Alfred dialogue that happens after Arthur turns them down.
Yeah.
Well. When he tells them, like, maybe a man who broods in a cave for a living shouldn't be recruiting.
Jeremy Irons' Alfred is amazing. He was amazing in BVS, and he's still really great here. Their back and forth banter in this movie is really good.
But Jeremy Irons, everyone gives him a lot of shit for being like hipster Alfred, which is kind of true. He dresses like Starbucks Alfred.
I love that Starbucks Alfred.
But I mean, I don't know. I still like him. I think he's really fitting for Ben Affleck's Batman. He's a necessary type of comedic relief. He's not like an obnoxious type Alfred that like is, overcorrecting for the seriousness that Ben Affleck's Batman brings, but...
Right. Yeah, no, he gives it a good balance.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like about his Alfred. He makes a joke about maybe we can catch the next King's Tide in Tahiti or the Himalayas.
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I liked that, too. It's
that
like, he's like, this shit's cold. I want to go to the beach.
It was so good.
Oh, also, the first Steppenwolf scene.
Yes.
In the Amazon. Happens, and that's when shit really gets real. That's when you see the tone of this movie for the first time. I mean, there's fucking blood spray, and like he's like throwing people like they're fucking nothing. He does not give a shit. This version of Steppenwolf is so much better than the theatrical. It's not even close.
Are made. Like, they look way more intimidating, and they seem way more intimidating in this version of the scene than the theatrical version.
I really liked the whole Themyscira fight scene.
It was so cool.
It was amazing, honestly. The entire, the suspense of it, the way it was shot, Like, the way that they were all... It was like a relay race, basically. Like, they had to pass the box to each other. And then, like, when the one girl slides on the floor and Steppenwolf's getting closer and closer, and she shoots the arrow away.
That was such a great moment.
It's just, like, really fucking cool.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just really well done.
I love the idea that to protect the mother box, they destroy the temple and have it crumble into the ocean, and that doesn't even stop him.
Yeah, I thought that was, like, really cool, and it does a good job of, like, again, like, helping setting the tone for the movie, because within the first 30 minutes of the movie, we've already watched, like, 100 Amazonians die. Like,
and we already know how cool they are.
This version of Steppenwolf gives no fucks. I mean, he basically showed up and fought, like, 100 of Wonder Woman and just walked away.
Yeah, and I remember the version in the theatrical version. It was weird because they close off the temple like in the Snyder version, but the temple doesn't crumble or anything. Steppenwolf just pops out the wall. Yeah, he just goes through the wall. Like, that was...
He just jumps through the ceiling or the wall or whatever. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Sacrifice. So it was weird.
But we do know this was what his Steppenwolf was supposed to look like roughly the entire time. I mean, we get a glimpse of him in the ultimate cut of BVS. Yeah. And he looks way more like this version.
Exactly the same person, basically.
I think with the exception was, like, his head. I think, like, his helmet is a little different. He looks a little more, like, monsterish in BVS. But other than that, there's, like, not really many differences. He still has, like, the cool-ass armor.
Yeah.
Which is a fucking awesome effect, by the way. Like, when they shoot him with all the arrows and he flexes and it just shatters all the arrows, I was like, holy shit.
I love that. I think we get reintroduced to Wonder Woman in Part 1 still. I'm pretty sure Part 1 has the museum scene where we see Wonder Woman again.
Maybe. That was a good-ass scene, though.
Yeah.
Like, it was so cool. The new version of that scene is infinitely better.
Yeah.
I want to know, honestly, like, even with changing the tone and everything, who the fuck cut that scene out with that little girl at the end of that?
Yeah.
That little clip where she tells the little girl you can be anything you want to be.
Yeah.
That was such a, like, pure, like, comic book type Wonder Woman moment, and I could not believe that was cut out.
Yeah,
I was like, why would you even get rid of that? It doesn't even, like, even if they did the more hopeful version of that scene, it doesn't clash with the scene.
Yeah,
there was no reason to take it out.
I don't know who the fuck cut out where she's blocking the bullets at, like, super speed with her bracelets, because that was fucking awesome.
Dude, when she runs in like Feora and Man of Steel and just fucking bitch slaps all those guys in like 3 seconds, I got immediately hyped. I am one of the rare few that did not love the Wonder Woman movie, but the way she was handled in this movie made me love her so fucking much.
Yeah.
Like, she is just such a badass in this movie. Yeah. She does not give a fuck. She kicks the shit out of everybody in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. She's fucking badass in this movie.
We get to see Themyscira when they send the arrow.
Right.
The signal to warn Diana, and that's when she goes to the temple.
Right.
And finds all of the old messages about Darkseid.
Yeah.
And she learns about, like, the mother boxes and stuff that way. She comes back and she tells Bruce the whole story of Darkseid's first invasion, which we get some pretty cool footage of Darkseid when he was still Euxis, is I think how you pronounce it. When he was, like, before he declares himself as Darkseid.
Right. Yeah, this scene was super cool. You get to see Zeus rocking some fucking awesome powers. I love him throwing those lightning bolts. That was such a cool scene.
Yeah, I really liked the effect that they did on the Green Lantern in this scene, where the lantern is projected off of his chest.
Yeah.
I thought that was fucking cool.
I fucking love it.
And if they do that for the DCEU version of Green Lantern, I would love that.
Absolutely. I really love the scene. I don't know why they cut this out of the original again, but I love the part where he kills that Green Lantern, cuts off his hand, and the ring almost goes to Darkseid. He is about to take it when he gets shot by an arrow.
And then it flies away.
And it flies away. Yeah. I love that scene.
I was like, no, please do not fucking give him that. I was like, so everybody is fucking dead. And then I think we get our first Cyborg scene.
I think it's
in part two.
Yeah.
Which is the very, very brief one. Which I know we talked about this a long time ago when the movie first came out. But I actually prefer the Joss Whedon version of the introduction of Cyborg. Yeah. I thought that the dialogue for his version was a lot more like heartfelt.
Yeah.
Obviously, I like this version of the movie way better. I just like the dialogue in the other version for this scene in particular better.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
We get a lot of really, really good backstory in this movie that we didn't get before.
Cyborg was, I will say, Cyborg was the best part of Justice League, and he gets so much more. They did him dirty in Justice League, and he was like the best part of that movie.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Ray Fisher's performance as Cyborg was the best performance in Joss Whedon's Justice League. And
yeah,
I mean, they really, like, when you see this version, you can really feel how much they ruined from that movie.
It's crazy.
It's almost painful. Like you see this version and then think back to the other one, and you're like, that none of this was in there at all. There was no heartfelt stuff between him and his dad. There was no, like, you didn't get the videotape, or the not the videotape, the tape messenger.
Yeah.
And you didn't get any of that stuff, like, at all.
You don't get his backstory at all. You don't get his mom.
The most backstory that we got for him before this was in BVS when they show the mother box giving him his cyborg parts, and that's it.
And I can't imagine someone looking at this and cutting it out.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think, like, this movie, this entire 4-hour cut, there is a comfortable 3-hour cut that they could have made. Yeah. And this version could have been like the ultimate cut of Watchmen, where there's an hour of extra shit you technically don't need.
But it's cool to have.
But it fleshes things out just a little more for, like, the fans who really, really want to see it.
What always confused me was, before this version of the movie came out and Snyder was talking about his version of the movie, was that he always said that Cyborg was the heart of his Justice League movie.
Yeah.
And I was always confused by that, because I was like, okay, I know his backstory is tragic and everything, but I kind of assumed, like, Superman and Lois might be the heart of the story, or, like, the Flash because his dad's in prison. Something like that would have been the heart of the story. But no, I completely understand now, seeing it, how Cyborg is the heart of this movie.
Yeah, the ironic part is that in Joss Whedon's Justice League, he definitely made a bigger deal out of Flash. We got a lot more jokes with the Flash and a lot more focus on the Flash, and they cut so much of Cyborg out.
Right.
It honestly feels like Joss Whedon wanted to use Barry more, and so they cut a lot of the Cyborg stuff to make time for Barry jokes.
Yeah.
The change in his backstory is interesting.
Yeah.
I was a little caught off guard by it because I didn't expect that at all.
With the car crash?
Because I thought that they were still going to do the explosion at the lab.
I thought that too.
Because they said that his dad got stuck at the lab. So I'm like, okay, so they're going to go back to the lab, and then, this is going to go exactly how you expect. But no, they actually changed it, and the car crash happened.
We get introduced to Barry after that, right?
Yes, in this same part. We see Barry doing some kind of job interview at, like, a dog walking place or something.
Some kind of adoption center or something.
Yeah, he's supposed to be, like, getting a job to walk the dogs, which is the scariest person to ever walk a dog.
I'm so conflicted on this scene because it has some amazing ideas, but the whole scene is
where
so
he
awkward.
runs through the glass is very beautifully shot, and how he tears out of his shoes before he even moves because he's that, like, fast. It does look a little awkward the way he kind of tiptoes through the street. I still think that's kind of dumb. I would have liked it if they did more of, like, a CW Grant Gustin type thing where he runs and then slides there.
Yeah. I mean, he does do a cool slide that, like, breaks the asphalt.
Yeah. It looks weird because he, like, tiptoes over there. It's like a Speed Force tiptoe. And it's like, it looks very awkward.
And it's
the hot dog. we have to talk about the hot dog. I cannot talk about this scene without talking about the fucking hot dog.
Why?
I dead ass thought, and there are edits of this now. I dead ass thought he was gonna put that hot dog in her fucking mouth. It's so ridiculous. It's so bad.
I don't like.
It has funny, like, kind of funny payoff at the end of the scene, but while you're watching it, you see this guy watching this girl that's floating in the air.
That he presumably doesn't even know.
Who he is leaving in danger so that he can like brush his hand on her face and then hold a hot dog and then look like he's gonna shove it in her fucking mouth.
Oh my god!
And then instead he puts the hot dog in his pocket and then saves her. And I'm like, hey, can we save her and then catch the hot dog?
That would have been still funny, but
it would have been more funny if he set her down and then grabbed the hot dog right before it hit the floor and then took off before she saw him. But anyways, okay, the point is, he had a wiener, like, very near this girl's face, and it's very uncomfortable to see in slow motion.
Oh, fuck.
It is a funny scene, I'll give it that. Obviously, it was intended to be funny, but... Yeah.
And then,
Also, don't know if you noticed this, the produce truck that almost hits Iris's car... for the people who don't know, that was supposed to be Iris. They don't ever say her name, but apparently that's Iris
that makes it
in
so
that car.
Harder,
but the truck that hits the car is Gardner Fox, is the brand on the car, which is the creator of the Justice League. Yeah.
That's cool. I did not notice that.
There's a little comic book history lesson in the middle of this. He actually is the creator of the Justice League comics. Yeah. So, yeah, they have Gardner Fox's name hidden in the movie.
That's cool. I think after that scene is where we get to Steppenwolf. We go back to Steppenwolf because he's taken Atlanteans out of the ocean.
And he slams that guy into the fucking rock and puts that spider thing on him.
Brutal and creepy as fuck.
That I deadass thought first time I saw it that spider was going in his mouth.
Yeah.
I was like,
nope,
I'm not watching this movie anymore. I was so scared. I was like, don't you fucking do it.
Hell no.
I am
spiders.
Deathly terrified of spiders. I literally I thought that metal spider thingy was gonna go in his mouth.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm out. That's too much. I'm done. This is a Saw movie now. I'm done.
So fucked up.
Put gadgets in people's mouths and shit. I'm out.
Reads his fucking mind and shit. And
that I thought was actually really dope. I had no idea that was going to be a mind reading device.
Yeah, no, I didn't either.
When he takes that thing out, it is so scary. And I think that's obviously on purpose. I feel like every single person who watched the movie thought that thing was going to go in his fucking mouth.
I thought it was.
At first, I thought it was going to go in his mouth. Then it climbed up higher, and I'm like, it's going to stab him in his eyeballs. Like, I thought it was going to be something really fucked up.
I was assuming the worst.
I've seen too many Snyder movies now to expect anything other than disgusting violence all the time. Like,
fair enough.
Especially, like, with Watchmen, you get, like, people's bones breaking. It's, like, ripping through the skin and blood spraying everywhere. I thought that was about to happen in this movie. I was like, I saw that little spider thing come out, and I was like, oh, fuck no. But it is a dope scene.
Yeah.
It is really cool to see him just fucking manhandle that Atlantean. Like,
that shit was dope.
He's just fucking garbage.
That guy's dead as fuck after that.
Oh, yeah.
Head hit on the rock.
Yeah. I like... The use of the gore in this movie is very tasteful.
Yeah,
actually.
It's very minuscule.
Compared to Zack's other movies.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder is very fucking disgusting with some of his violence. And this movie was very pulled back.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's probably because a lot of the blood is CGI'd in after and stuff like that. So it's like, you know. Plus, I don't think they intended for it to be like a super hard R rating.
Yeah.
It just happened to get R because of all the extra violence and stuff.
Yeah. It's not anything like horror movie gore.
Yeah, I mean, you could watch this with kids.
Yeah. I
mean, like, there's a couple jokes your kids won't get, obviously, especially at the end with Joker, but again, we'll get to that later. But, and then right after that, we get the Flash, again, talking to his dad at the prison, which still, Billy Crudup is a better Henry Allen than we deserved for this movie. The first time I heard that he was cast, like, I like Billy Crudup a lot. So I was, like, excited.
Yeah.
But I thought it was going to be really fucking hard to top John Wesley Shipp after how good the Flash show handled him. I don't think he topped him. But I think had we gotten a lot more of him, I think he would have been at least close.
He would have, because it's hard because, you know, John Wesley Shipp had a whole season, 2 seasons actually worth of that character.
Yeah.
So it's
and
gonna
every
be hard
single
to top.
scene with him is incredibly emotional. So, yeah, I mean, I really liked the way that they handled it. I really liked the speech that he gives Barry about how he's living in the past and he needs to move on and stop coming to see him and all that. I was like really sad when I watched that scene.
It's a sad scene.
And it is entirely carried by Billy Crudup's performance.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Ezra Miller's good in that scene, but I think he's better in other parts of the movie.
Yeah. It's not as strong as acting in the whole movie.
Yeah, no, it's not. Oh, you know what? I think he meets Bruce. Right there.
Is that where he meets Bruce?
I think the end of the chapter is that he meets Bruce and comes back with them.
I think you're right. Yeah, he meets Bruce, which that whole scene is, again, another one of the scenes that pretty much stayed unchanged.
Yeah, it was basically untouched. I think there's one or two shots that they reshot. But they're not major enough that you notice.
Yeah.
But I really liked Barry's interaction with Bruce.
Yes, I love
in both versions. So I just think they play off each other really well.
Yeah.
And
the competitive ice skating line was new for this version. I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. They have some really good dialogue. I still love the "I'm rich" line. I definitely thought that was a Joss Whedon line.
I did too.
I really did. I thought Joss Whedon added that.
You know, we've been talking about comedy for a while now, so I think this is a good time to talk about it, where this movie is much funnier than Man of Steel or BVS.
Well, yeah,
you can tell he took the criticism of the movies being too dark and actually incorporated it into his movie, because there are way more jokes. It's just that the balance of tone is still like untouched, really.
Yeah, I agree. It's much better balanced this time around.
Yeah.
So part 4. We get
the fight with the Atlanteans. He steals the second mother box.
Right. Yeah, so he shows up and beats the shit out of everyone except for Mara. Put up a pretty good fight in this version.
I really like.
Yeah, I don't like that. It's awful. I hate Amber Heard's British accent.
Not good.
I like Amber Heard in Aquaman. I thought she was a very good fit for that role. But
I don't like the decision of making her British.
The British accent in this version is very bad. Like, it's just not good. I'm sorry, okay?
It was not good at all.
But, you know, we get a lot of good stuff with her character in this movie as a trade-off, so I can overlook the British accent. The scene where she fights Steppenwolf in Atlantis, and we finally see her pulling the blood out of someone for the first time.
That scene was so cool.
It was very fucking awesome to see on screen. That's one of the coolest things about her character, is that she can pull the moisture from people.
Yeah.
And we see a little hint at it in Aquaman when she pulls the bead of sweat off him to activate the relic in that Atlantean temple.
Right.
But in this version,
it's like full capacity.
We get to see what it looks like when she's in danger and she uses it, and she's pulling literally the blood out of his body.
Yeah.
Which is fucking awesome. I love everything about that scene. It's really cool to see Arthur come in at the last minute and catch the axe.
Yeah. Just to help her, and unfortunately he loses and Steppenwolf gets away with the second mother box.
Yeah, he beats the shit out of everybody in that scene. Also, we get a couple more gruesome deaths in that scene as well. When he pops up like Jaws, which is amazing. I loved everything about that when he pops up out of the hole and screams at the guy and then fucking stabs him, and then he's he rips that one guy in half with the axe.
Oh my god, it's brutal.
Everything about that scene was fucking awesome, and it made you realize that a lot of these DC villains are scary no matter what situation you put them in.
Yeah,
if they're on land, in the water, in space, doesn't matter. They're going to kick the shit out of all your heroes. And that's exactly what he did. He showed up and beat the shit out of a fuck ton of Aquamans.
Yeah. That was crazy.
He didn't give a fuck.
I think after that is when we get the rooftop scene with Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. Yeah. And we get Barry fangirling over the bat signal, which is awesome.
That was in the theatrical version, and I love that scene.
Yeah, I love that scene as well.
Good.
I think it's very funny that he almost gives his identity away when he's yelling about the bat signal. He's like, "Oh, that's your signal." And then he's like, "Oh, Shit, sorry. I'll have to cut that in there.
Hi, Barry, I'm Diana.
Yes, dude. Hi, Barry, I'm Diana. Right. That's not right. I loved that so much. That was it. Ezra Miller's Barry reminds me a lot of the Barry Allen we get in the pilot of the Flash show.
Yeah.
Where he's very, very obnoxiously nerdy
awkward,
and he's super excited
yeah.
about all this like scientific bullshit, and that's exactly how Ezra Miller's Barry feels to me. It's like the pilot episode version of Grant Gustin's Barry Allen, which Grant Gustin's Barry Allen obviously has had a lot more time to grow. I like Grant Gustin's performance as the Flash more.
Yeah.
But I can accept the more childish version of Barry. I think it's fun.
Yeah. So we get the rooftop scene with Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah. Commissioner Gordon in this movie is a fairly basic performance. We don't get really too much out of him. I am sad we don't get to see more of him because J.K. Simmons is a fantastic actor. I would have loved to see what he could do with that character, especially after how far they pushed the envelope with the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah. With
Gordon, I would have loved to see some more intense scenes like that with J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons has some very impressive performances that would have lent themselves very well to that character. So we get to see Gordon. Gordon is pretty basic. I mean, he's Gordon. He talks to Batman on the rooftop. That's what he does.
Yeah.
He doesn't really talk too much in the scene, to be honest. It's mostly the other characters who bring information and then they just leave Jim there. Which Flash's dialogue at the end of that scene still makes me laugh. I loved everything about that when he's like, "Oh, they just vanished. That's rude."
He's the only one that doesn't vanish. And he's the fastest one there.
He's the fastest one in the group. He didn't notice that they left.
That's so good.
And then we get Cyborg finally joining the Justice League. He has the Mother Box.
Right.
And tells them that they kidnapped Silas.
Right.
That's what we forgot about. So in this part, Silas gets kidnapped.
Right.
Which is an okay scene. I mean, the horror aspect of it was pretty cool. Like the out of focus shot of the parademon standing right behind him was really cool.
With the red eyes glowing. But so Silas was kidnapped, which is what eventually brings Victor to the Justice League so that they can go find Steppenwolf at Gotham Harbor.
Yes, it's the big like what is it, like a smokestack in the middle of Gotham Harbor?
Yeah.
So they go there. That's like a little like hideout for them. It's not the main fortress, but it's like it's close enough that they can jump between Metropolis and Gotham and kind of fuck with people to figure out where the boxes are. So then we get to part 5. After that.
After the fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they have a fight. Well, and we should probably talk about the fight.
Yeah. So they fight Steppenwolf again. Or no, this is the Justice League's first time fighting Steppenwolf, right?
Yeah, this is the first time fighting Steppenwolf.
So because we've seen him fight the Amazons, and then we see him fight the Atlanteans, and now we see him fight the Justice League.
Yeah.
The Justice League kind of gets their asses kicked.
They definitely get their asses kicked.
Batman gets bitch slapped by a couple parademons, like literally tossed around the room.
Yeah. Flash has an amazing scene where he's saving a group of people from some falling rubble. Oh my!
I completely forgot about that until you said that, and I've seen the movie more than you. I don't know how that happened.
Because that just stuck in my mind as soon as I saw that scene. I was like, oh my god.
The tiny little, pun intended, Flash images of the Flash jumping through the light while the rocks are falling is fucking awesome.
As much as I love the Flash TV show, that might have been the best visualization of his powers I've ever seen.
Yeah, so we get to see this, like, pretty cool fight. Wonder Woman has a kick-ass one-on-one with him, and she, like, the way that it's shot from the side almost looks like Injustice Wonder Woman. And the way that she's fighting and, like, turning, and she's, like, hitting him with the shield and shit. I thought that was badass.
That was a great scene.
We get to see another scene with Cyborg and his dad, another heartfelt one where he tells him, I didn't think you would come, and he says, you're my father.
Yeah.
Despite all their problems, he can't let him die. But Other than that, I think he breaks open the tunnel.
The tunnel, which all the water from the harbor flows in.
And that's when Aquaman finally joins the league. Yeah, and he holds back the water so that they can get back to the Nightcrawler, which was a kick-ass new vehicle for the first time in the movies. And it's also really cool to see the way that Bruce talks about it.
Yeah,
he's like, I know, like, celebrate later, Alfred. I need the Nightcrawler.
Oh yeah, I think this was in the theatrical version, but during the fight where Batman's out of the Nightcrawler and Cyborg gets in it, and he's like, "Don't worry, Alfred, I'm here."
Yeah, he's like, "I'll take it from here."
Who are you? Do
like,
I know you?
Yeah, I really liked that scene. I thought it was really cool.
I love that.
But other than that, not too much happens. We see Aquaman join them finally, and then they go back to the Batcave.
Yeah, they go
Actually,
back to the Batcave.
That's when the League goes to the Batcave together for the first time.
Yeah.
And Bruce has a hilarious line where he tells everybody that he works for Alfred.
I love that scene.
And everyone comes in and compliments Alfred, except for Cyborg, who comes in like an asshole.
He's just like, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, so yeah, we got the Justice League at the cave for the first time. And I think after this fight is when Steppenwolf goes back to his main base. And that's where the mother boxes show him the vision of the anti-life. I'm pretty sure it's when he has the two boxes.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's when he sees the anti-life equation, and then we see Darkseid for the first time.
Yes. Well, the whole thing is that when Darkseid came to Earth with the mother boxes, he found the anti-life equation, and it was left there with the mother boxes, and he's been trying to find it this whole time.
So then we get to part 5?
I think this is where part 5 comes in, yeah.
Yeah. So we get to part 5. The Justice League stands around at the end of part 4 and discusses that the mother boxes can alter, like, all of the anterior particle relationships, I think is what they say.
I think that's what Cyborg says.
So essentially, they describe it as like particles aren't destroyed, they're just changed. So like when a house burns, the parts of the house became smoke. Yeah. But the mother box can turn smoke into a house.
Yeah.
Which makes them all kind of pause and realize we can use this to bring Superman back.
Yeah, which is an amazing scene. I love that.
So they decide, we're going to do it, which is a very weird, risky thing to do. It also sounds very strange. I mean, like, it's a very, like, unholy type thing to think about doing, is to be like, can we really bring someone back to life? Like, is this right? Is this what we should do?
I mean, throughout the last 2 movies, Zack Snyder has always made parallels of Superman and Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
He's made that very clear. His
I mean, it's kind of always been a thing with Superman, even in the comics.
Yeah.
He's very much a Jesus type figure.
Yeah.
A lot. He's made out to be that way constantly.
Right.
Which is the same with Spider-Man, which is why in almost everything he has some kind of crucifixion type scene where he's in the pose, doing something that's saving a bunch of people, potentially sacrificing himself. Specifically the train scene with Tobey Maguire when they even carry him in that pose. But Superman, especially in this movie, like, they really pushed that again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which Zack Snyder does a very good job of using that imagery without cramming it down your throat. Without, it's not like he's like that on top of a church in front of a cross. Like, they're not being, like, super over the top about it.
Yeah. For sure.
So we get to the ship again.
Yeah.
They go to Star Labs where the ship is, and where the Star Labs has set up around the crash site.
Yeah.
And they go there to use the ship's what is that fucking room called? I don't even remember.
It's like it was like a little. Wasn't it for like
Oh, I remember. It was the Genesis Chamber.
Genesis.
So they go to the Genesis Chamber, which I believe in Man of Steel they say is for creating Kryptonian life. It's like where they kept all the little baby thingies.
Yeah.
the weird baby bubbles. Where they can like assign like genetic skills to a baby before it's born and stuff like that.
Well, yeah.
And this is also where we see Lex create Doomsday.
Yeah. Right.
So they take Superman's body to the ship. They have this like funny little scene between Barry and Arthur, where Arthur's like very serious the whole movie, and then like they have this great scene where he's like, "Which one is less preposterous?" and he's showing him these hats, and he's like, "A," and he's like, "Definitely not A," and then he puts on B, and then Arthur's like, "Let me see A again."
Love that.
And it's such a simple little thing, but it's like it's little moments like that that make the characters more than like one-dimensional, serious guys,
Right.
But we get to see an amazing shot in this of when Superman's body is put in like the fluid, and then the picture falls.
Oh yeah.
Of Jonathan Kent, and then slowly starts sinking.
Yeah.
And it's like really good to see like it's almost like looking at like where he came from.
Right.
It's like a very great callback to Man of Steel. But
it's really cool symbolism. And so basically Barry has to be the one to charge up the mother box so that it can bring Superman back to life. And as the countdown is starting for him to take his run, Cyborg has a little interesting vision that the mother box shows him.
Yeah, presumably another premonition like what Batman has been having.
Yeah.
Where he sees a future where the mother box the Unity has been started, which is when all three mother boxes synchronize together and scorch a planet's surface.
Right.
Which is very interesting because there are some videos you can find. You can look for them yourselves. They have Zack Snyder explaining his original ending that they had written for this movie that Warner Brothers forced them to change was all of the stuff essentially that Cyborg sees in this one vision, which is that the Justice League loses, the planet's destroyed, there's all this terrible stuff happens. Presumably Clark is holding Lois's skeleton.
Yeah.
According to Zack Snyder, Lois was supposed to die. So this was going to be an extremely devastating fucking movie at the end. They were basically just going to be like, yeah, all your superheroes fucking dead. See you later.
That ending would have been fucking insane.
But the flash forward was fantastic, and the payoff you get for that at the end, it makes it all so much worth it. Like, it was so good. Also, Ray Fisher's performance in that scene as well was really good.
Oh yeah, no, his performance in this whole movie is really damn good.
So we see Barry explain his speed, actually.
Yes, that's
in
true.
this scene, when he runs, he tells them that he could build a big enough charge, but when he does it, it causes weird things to happen with time.
Yeah.
Implying that Barry has already, in some nature, changed time on accident, but we don't know how much.
Yeah, we don't know the consequences.
But yeah, so Barry is capable of reversing time, which we see in this. So we don't really see him doing full-on time jumps like they do on the CW, where he runs into the Speed Force and then just pops out like 10 years earlier or whatever. So we see him literally reversing time like the old Christopher Reeve Superman movies when he flies around the world the opposite direction and it turns time back, which is ridiculous, but it's okay. So we get to see a great shot of the picture that fell in the fluid that we were talking about earlier starts to come back out, and the mother box lifts back up to the perfect height for him to touch it.
That was so good. I love that.
And so the charge happens. By the way, maybe for people who didn't watch it with subtitles, it was kind of hard to hear. But Cyborg actually says no at the end of the the countdown, and Barry thinks he says go. So Cyborg at that point had changed his mind and was like, we should not fucking do this.
Yeah. But Barry mishears him as go and does it anyways.
Yes. And then, of course, their worst fears are realized when Clark wakes up and beats the living shit out of the Justice League. Which is an awesome scene still. This version of that scene is so much better. They cut like half this scene out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically none of the stuff with Arthur happens at all, except for that first little like punch.
Yeah,
that's like all that's in the Justice League version of that scene. There's like one punch on Aquaman, and that's it. You don't see him ever again in that whole fight scene.
But I am really glad that they kept in the theatrical version that they kept in the scene where Barry runs around Superman. And
Superman is fast enough to see him. Yeah.
And he looks over at him. Oh my god, that was such a great moment.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Some people have pointed out, I know we discussed this before, would be a very, very cool Easter egg for this. If it's true, which knowing Zack Snyder it probably fucking is, because this motherfucker puts like 80 hours of thought into like 3 seconds of every movie. But in the scene where Barry falls after running from Superman, he's like on the ground cowering, and it looks like Barry is being like a scared little bitch.
Yeah.
But as we see later in the movie, Barry puts his hand up the same way to enter like full on flash time.
Yeah.
To like completely submerge himself in the Speed Force, which potentially he may have been bracing himself so that he could do that, so that Superman wouldn't fucking blast his goddamn head off.
When Flash lands, a lot of people have pointed this out. I did catch it when I watched it the first time, and the only time. When Flash lands next to a memorial, the memorial for all the people who died.
Oh, yeah.
There's a little name there next to Flash's head. That's Ben Parker.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a coincidence. I honestly think that's a Spider-Man Easter egg.
On purpose. It was a little. I think that was Zack Snyder's little love letter to Marvel.
I thought that was hilarious.
Zack Snyder's a big nerd. Yeah. And, you know, just because you work for DC doesn't mean you don't enjoy Marvel. I liked this version a lot more of this scene. Like, just everything all the way around. Yeah. The dialogue, the performances, Henry Cavill's emotion when he sees her was very good.
Yeah, that was a really good scene. When he snaps out of it, seeing Lois. I really liked that a lot. After that, he flies off with Lois Lane.
And we see him go to the farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets to the Kent farm.
Oh, you know what we skipped? We skipped Martha and Lois talking.
We did.
So there's a scene earlier in the movie that we somehow forgot, even though it's a huge fucking deal.
Forget that?
There's just too much in this movie, man. But Martha and Lois are talking about how much they miss Clark, and it's like a very, very beautiful, like very well done scene. It's extremely sad. And so Martha tells her that she needs to go back to the Daily Planet and start writing stories again, and that she needs to keep living her life basically even though Clark is gone.
Right.
And when she walks out of the apartment, we see somebody who's a kind of a big fucking deal.
A little bit. A little bit.
Another fantastic black superhero from the DC roster. Martian Manhunter reveals himself, who has apparently been General Swanwick the whole time, according to Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder said that General Swanwick was Martian Manhunter this entire time, and that he feels like, in his mind, that this is like the permanent human form of him. Like, if he was just walking around the streets, he is Swanwick.
That's interesting.
So... Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, we got Martian Manhunter. He looks fantastic.
Yeah. I really love his redesign. It looks really fucking cool.
Yeah, I thought he looked fucking badass.
Yeah.
Just everything about him. I really liked the way, like, all the texture and stuff that they added to his face.
Yeah.
And, like, the line work on his head to add, like, a very unique design to it.
Right.
It definitely separates itself from the Supergirl one.
Yeah, which also looks cool. I like the Supergirl design. It would probably look a bit better if the CGI was better, but you know they only have a certain budget.
It is a TV show budget, yeah.
Yeah, but
they have to fit a whole lot of Supergirl CGI stuff in the show as well. So.
But yeah, in terms of design, I like both a lot.
So now we get to part 6, right?
No, because after the Superman fight is when Steppenwolf gets there.
Right. Look at that. I'm missing more important shit. Okay, so Steppenwolf shows up at Star Labs.
Yeah.
And he comes in like a fucking horror movie character, cutting through the doors and shit, which is pretty dope. And we see Silas, Victor's father, running with the mother box. He puts it in this, like, chamber.
Yeah.
Which has now been confirmed by Snyder to be a direct Dr. Manhattan reference.
Oh, really?
Yes. So what happens in this scene is that Steppenwolf shows up and tries to get to the mother box, and before he gets there, Silas pushes a button that blasts this laser at the mother box. But the mother box doesn't destroy anything, it changes it. So rather than being destroyed by it, it reflects it all around the room, which causes Silas, unfortunately, to die.
Which at first we're supposed to assume he was trying to destroy the box, and it was kind of in vain because it didn't do anything.
Yes. And unfortunately Cyborg gets there just in time to watch it happen. Yeah. And then he gets fucking bitch slapped. Like, yes, he gets yeeted across the room, like, unbelievably hard. Just, like, backhanded the shit out of him with his axe. And just... Yeet! Like, that was it. He just right into the wall. And Cyborg just sits there like, what the fuck just happened? And so unfortunately Silas dies, and Steppenwolf, like a dick, just takes the box and leaves. He doesn't even fight him, he just leaves.
He's just like, you're all dead anyways, so.
So he goes to start the Unity, and that's when the rest of the Justice League gets there and helps Cyborg back on his feet, and another amazing Ray Fisher scene happens. And that's when Cyborg realizes that he was not trying to destroy the box, he was superheating it. So that it would be the hottest thing on Earth, and it would show up on any thermal imaging scans.
I think that's the end of part 5, is when they finally realize how to track the mother boxes.
So then we get part 6. Part 6 is where all the meat and potatoes is. This is what you've been waiting for 2 3-hour Snyder movies. So you get to this whole shit show by the end, where the Justice League is nowhere near winning. They're getting their asses kicked this whole movie.
First, I want to talk about the scene where Clark goes back to the ship.
Yes, absolutely.
He goes back to the Superman ship, and as he enters, a great version of his Superman theme starts playing, and dialogue from Man of Steel starts playing of Jor-El and Jonathan Kent, both of his fathers, talking to him, and the culmination of both of their ideals about what Superman should be finally coming to fruition as he puts on the black suit, boy.
Yes, and we get another beautiful shot of him altering the atmosphere around himself.
Yes, it's a great...
which is, like, obviously a exact, direct callback to Man of Steel, where he has his hand on the floor and the rocks are floating. And
I love it so much.
Amazing. So we finally get to see the black suit on screen for the first time, which looks fantastic. Then he flies up to absorb some sunlight, you know, because he's super overdramatic. And he stands there in his Christ pose.
Yep.
Which is exactly what I was going to say earlier, but it was like way too early to talk about it. But so when he gets the black suit, he goes up and they do another Christ metaphor, which is very beautifully shot. The angle that they do it at makes Superman a silhouette, so you just see the outline of Superman with the cape and the sun behind him, and it's like really, really well done.
It's so cool.
And then we get back to the Justice League, who is preparing to go and stop Steppenwolf.
Right.
And We get some scenes of all of them preparing. Barry is eating snacks.
Yeah.
Like always, because according to him, he is a snack hole. Cyborg says that he wants to be left alone, and Arthur finally shows that he cares about the Justice League, and he has a very good line about we're asking a kid whose father just died to risk his life.
Yeah.
And then he says that it's not fair, which is true.
Yeah. No, that's a great line actually.
And Barry looks at him and says, "I thought you didn't care." And Arthur gets offended and says, "I never said that," which I really liked. It's very much felt like comic book Aquaman to me.
Yeah.
That was like, it felt like dialogue that I would read in like Jeff Johns' Aquaman comics.
Yeah. For sure. During this, they figure out that to stop the Unity, that Cyborg can actually go into the mother boxes to basically stop the Unity from happening and separating them. So, which unfortunately would cause him to maybe have to sacrifice his life, which is what we were talking about just a second ago.
Yeah. Also, we get to see another callback to Batman vs. Superman. Batman sits in the same chair and talks to Diana, Wonder Woman, about his nightmare that he has in Batman vs. Superman. And he tells her, "I had a dream, almost like a premonition, and Barry Allen was right here." And they talk about everything that happened and how he warns him about how Lois Lane is the key. And we get another great Wonder Woman line where she says that she's the key to Superman. Every heart has one.
Right.
And Bruce says, "I think it's something more, something darker."
Right.
Which obviously is hinting at Cyborg's very horrible premonition that he had. And so, Something Darker, by the way, is the title of Part 6.
Right.
But then we get this awesome, like, kick-ass, getting ready to go montage of all the Justice League.
Yeah.
And then Alfred comes running down and tells Bruce that he has to come see something. And that's when we see the ship.
Yeah.
It's finally fixed. They've been talking about it the whole movie. And Cyborg fixed it. And Bruce is all excited and is like, "You fixed it." And Cyborg says that flight is its nature. And Bruce says, "Yours too," which is another really nice line.
Yeah.
And we also get another great Batman line where he says that he's talking to Alfred about Superman, and he says, "He'll be here, Alfred, I know it." And he said, "How can you be sure?" And he says, "Faith, Alfred, faith."
That's a great line. Yeah.
And I really liked it in the way the score comes in after he says that, and the ship closes and flies off. It was very, very well shot. I loved everything about that scene. But we get to see some kick-ass Batman footage in this fight. Yeah. Like, holy shit.
So great.
Batman beats the fucking shit out of like 300 parademons by himself in this movie.
His fucking Batmobile driving backwards.
That is one of my favorite Batman scenes of all time. I'm not even kidding. So like when he's cool. So they have to take down the force field to get in. The Batman shoots a fuck ton of missiles into the force field. It opens up just big enough to fit the ship through, but it hits the ship on the way through, and he breaks the dome over Steppenwolf's base and crashes the ship.
Right.
And then all of the parademons start coming for Bruce. And he has this fucking kick-ass line where he stands up, walks over, tells them, "Don't worry about me, get to the mother boxes." And then he flips this switch and it's pitch fucking black and he's like, "They're here." And it's like, it's so fucking dope. And then we get to see this great shot from inside in the darkness as the door is slowly being ripped open by the parademons. And then we see headlights and we hear that engine rev.
Hell yeah.
For the first time in the movie.
Fucking
and the Batmobile comes blasting out of the ship, and he just kicks so much ass in this movie. And there's a surprisingly gory parademon kill in this fight. When he swings the car around and the parademon hits that fucking spike.
He fucking just gets impaled.
And that shit was awesome.
Yeah. I love that so much.
But Batman handles fucking business in this movie because he takes out like half of Steppenwolf's army by himself before the Justice League even gets in there. And we get another great shot of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
When she jumps over the Batmobile and slices the two parademons in half.
Oh my god, that was
to
so
save
cool.
Bruce. And then we get
the
finally our splash page hero shot, which for some reason, again, someone thought was a good idea to cut out of the movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that happens.
It's literally like a 2-second shot. Like, you can afford 2 more seconds of runtime for that shot. It was fucking awesome.
I don't know why they decided to cut that out of the movie, but it was a poor decision. Because that show was fucking awesome.
I agree. It should have been in the fucking movie. So we get that whole like opening fight scene where they get into the base. Everybody has great moments. Cyborg, we get to see like him fully unleash his powers out of like his arm blasters and shit, and he drops like 30 apartment buildings on people, which is fucking awesome. And then we get to see Barry running.
So Barry has to charge up enough speed so that he can jolt Cyborg into the mother boxes. Yeah. Which is his whole mission. So
then we get the throwdown with Steppenwolf. Where the Justice League is fighting Steppenwolf, who is now powered by the Unity and has blue eyes. Yeah. And they're like all light up and shit, and it's fucking scary.
Fucking cool.
And he is fucking manhandling the Justice League, and he does not give a shit. And every once in a while they get like 1 or 2 good hits in, and then he just gets back up and smacks the shit out of him. Yeah. And they have some really, really great scenes with Cyborg. Yeah. In this section of the movie in particular, when he's attempting to separate the mother boxes and Steppenwolf keeps almost catching him. Yeah. And it's like very, very tense. And finally we see Steppenwolf shake off Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and he collapses part of the building on them and comes back to Cyborg and says for Darkseid, and goes to swing his axe, and you think, oh man, like he's gonna hit him, and bam, Superman's ass shows up.
Oh my god, so fucking
Takes a blade to the shoulder, no fucks given, and looks Steppenwolf in the eyes and says, not impressed.
Impressed. He fucking uses his ice breath to freeze his axe and fucking destroy
it. The first major usage of Superman's ice breath we've seen with Henry Cavill. Yeah. Which he did also use in the theatrical version.
Yeah, they used
just
it
the
in
scene
a different
plays
way.
Differently.
Yeah.
But he does use it to freeze the axe.
Yeah. And this part was super cool because as soon as he shows up and breaks the axe, a heroic version of the Man of Steel scene plays, and I love the way that his theme has been reorganized in the scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, so we get to this whole fight. Superman shows up, and then Clark, Diana, and Arthur are beating the shit out of Steppenwolf at this point. Yeah. I mean, like, Clark by himself, is just pounding him into the fucking ground. And then he uses his laser vision for a cool thing for the first time pretty much ever. He cuts Steppenwolf's horn off, and fucking blood sprays everywhere. And then he continues to beat Steppenwolf into the ground as if, like, you already just beat the shit out of him and cut his horn off. Like, but fuck it.
Meanwhile, Barry's still running around, and Employee of the fucking Month Parademon shoots Barry.
That's the realest shit ever. He is Employee of the Month. If that motherfucker didn't get a promotion, I don't know who will.
He fucking shoots Barry. He shoots the fucking Flash.
Yeah, who is now running faster than he's ever ran before.
Out of his rhythm, and so he collapses to the ground. And so that causes enough time for the Unity to happen. Unfortunately, the Unity is created. And
that, by the way, I think is Ezra Miller's best acting in the movie is when he gets shot. When he gets up and his breath is really shaky, like he got the wind knocked out of him. He tells him he got the wind knocked out of him, need a few seconds, that's all. And then we cut to see that massive wound on his side. and you can hear his breath gets really, really shaky, and like he's holding back crying. Which reminded me a lot of Tom Holland in Spider-Man Homecoming when the building falls on him. And you can hear him kind of breathing the same way.
That's a good example, actually.
I thought that was very fucking good. And then we get this really gut-wrenching scream from Ray Fisher. When he's, like, screaming for Barry. And then we get this fucking terrifying shot of Steppenwolf, who is bleeding on the floor and smiling, and says he's here. And Darkseid is in the portal, and the Unity synchronizes, and the planet is destroyed.
It gets so fucked up.
And Barry sticks his hand up, like we mentioned earlier, and enters Flash Time. And phases through the explosion, and it's a reverse version of the shot from Flashpoint.
Yeah. I love the version of the Speed Force that he created. I really love the design for it.
Yeah.
When he's in Flash Time.
I think it looks fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So we see Barry do quite possibly the most important thing any of the Justice League did in this entire fucking movie.
Absolutely.
And runs back in time and erases the destruction of planet Earth. He has pretty cool dialogue in this scene about the Speed Force in particular. About make your own future, make your own past, it's all right now. And he has some great dialogue about his dad, too. Because his dad tells him that he could be one of the best of the best. So he says it again in this scene.
It's a great callback.
So Barry finally runs. We see the Speed Force working, reversing time, and the world is rebuilding itself with
under
each of his footsteps.
Oh my god,
which is
so cool.
Absolutely beautiful.
I love that.
And we get to Cyborg again, and we see Superman be rebuilt from the explosion, and Cyborg being rebuilt from the explosion, and we see all like their veins and their blood and their skin so cool. Attached back on, and you can see their like Superman's bones and his fingers before the skin comes back, and
so gory.
And so then we get to Cyborg in the mother boxes.
Yeah, this scene is heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's easily like one of the best scenes in the entire movie.
Absolutely.
Like, it is so fucking good. And so essentially the mother boxes are pretending to be him when he was healthy.
Yeah.
And both of his parents, who are now at this point dead.
Yeah.
And his mother calls him her broken boy.
Yeah.
And they say that they can fix him and make him whole again, and that they can be together again. And Ray Fisher, again with his Oscar-worthy performance, gets real emotional and says, "I'm not broken," and his voice is all shaky and he's crying, and then he pulls the mother boxes apart and calls for Superman, and Superman comes over and rips the boxes apart with him.
Yeah. Such a great scene.
And then we see Steppenwolf get his ass handed to him again.
Yes.
For like the 50th time in a row in like 10 minutes. And so Arthur stabs through him and lifts him off the floor.
Yeah.
And Superman just fucking decks this motherfucker, just launches him.
Yeah.
And
straight to Darkseid.
Wonder Woman, being the bad bitch she is, jumps up and chops this motherfucker's neck bone.
Fucking decapitates the bitch before he goes through the portal.
His head rolls to Darkseid's feet, and Darkseid gives no fucks, by the way. He crushes it with his foot. He gives no shits. Like, this happens, and he's just like, you know what? He did. Like, he don't even care. So then we get to the epilogue. After that, pretty much. I mean, like, Darkseid says that they're going to use the old ways, which is like bringing the whole army and coming there himself.
Yeah.
Which might not amount to anything now, because we might not get Justice League 2, which is very sad. I hope we do, but...
I hope so, but you never know. And then, we get to the Return of the King part of the movie.
Yes. This has been a joke between us for a while since the movie came out. This movie feels like Return of the King, which has like 13 endings, which this movie also does. It's like every single time you think the movie's gonna end, it's like, but wait, there's more. And they just keep going. Lex's escape scene was cool, though.
Oh, yeah. No, I really liked
that a lot.
I can't remember how it played out in the theatrical version.
In the theatrical cut, they just cut to him on the boat.
Are you sure? There was no scene before
There's no scene at all before that. That's just the after credit scene, is that he's in the boat.
He just
already
is escaped.
Yeah, they don't talk about it at all.
Okay.
But, so yeah, we see Deathstroke.
Yeah, we do.
Who looks fantastic. Easily the best live action costume we've ever had.
Absolutely. He looks so fucking cool in this movie.
I will fight anybody who doesn't think the same.
Yeah.
That's the coolest live action costume we've had so far. But, yeah, so we get to see Deathstroke and set up for the Ben Affleck Batman movie, which was supposed to be Batman versus Deathstroke.
No, which order was it? Was it the epilogue where Cyborg recreates the recorder and is talking or is listening to his father? Is that after the Deathstroke scene?
No,
that
was the first part of the epilogue, and then as he's talking, we see like everyone going off to the points where their solo movies start.
Yeah, and we get the classic shot of Superman opening his shirt, which was a cool scene. We get Flash talking to his father one more time.
Yeah, that was another amazing Billy Crudup scene. I really love the line that he has in there where he's like, "That's my boy. It taught him nothing he knows."
You're gonna get maced again.
Yeah, I just love the "taught him nothing he knows" line. It's so fucking. He's so proud to not be a dad. It's like fucking hilarious. So yeah, that's when it cuts to Lex and the yacht and all that. So he tells Deathstroke who Batman is.
That was crazy.
And according to some recent articles that have come out, Ben Affleck's Batman movie was supposed to have several major supporting Batman characters die.
Yeah.
Which I would assume would have been either Alfred or Commissioner Gordon.
Or maybe like Batgirl.
But we do know, Batgirl was supposed to be in the movie. Yeah. So it's possible that it was Batgirl. But
that would have been crazy. And then after that is where we get all the reshoots that they got to do for
the Snyder Cut. So Ben Affleck lost all his alcohol weight. Which, you know, he looks great again.
Oh, yeah, good for him, honestly.
But he lost, unfortunately, all of the bulk that he had built up for Batman vs Superman and Justice League when he was fucking ripped as shit.
So especially out of the suit, he looks completely different than the rest of the movie.
He looks skinny as fuck at the end of the movie. The scene is still great, and it's
it's a really good scene.
It's just as good as every other scene with him in the movie.
It's just that it's a noticeable.
Yeah, it's a very noticeable body style change.
And so we get the scene where we're in the Nightmare universe, and we're seeing the Desolate Wasteland, which is a continuation from BVS, and we get the team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In the Nightmare sequence, we get the Flash in his time travel suit with the full closing helmet
and the goatee.
This is what we saw him wearing in Batman vs Superman. As the Flash for the first time when he came through the Speed Force and was warning Barry. Or Bruce, I mean. He was warning Bruce. Barry can't warn Barry. Well, maybe he does.
I mean, he could.
So we see him. We see Cyborg with like a whole new fat-ass cannon on his back.
Yeah.
We see Deathstroke.
Yep, he's part of the team.
We see Mara.
Yeah.
And we see Joker. This version of Joker, I still am not entirely in love with. But it is drastically better than the Suicide Squad performance. It's not even close.
Yeah.
I find it very difficult to rewatch like Suicide Squad, like any parts of Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
There are very few scenes in that movie that I love.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is very hard to watch.
They gave him a total redesign with longer hair, no tattoos, which I'm absolutely on board with. And I really respect the idea that if Zack Snyder was like, okay, this is my last movie, and it might even be the last movie of the DCU before they like reboot it or go in a different direction. We should have a scene with Batman and the Joker. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I also really appreciated that he gave Jared Leto a second chance.
Yeah.
Because all the projects with Jared Leto have seemingly been canceled.
Yeah.
As far as we know. And Jared Leto has said some very colorful things about Warner Brothers since his departure. He does not fucking like them anymore. But I mean, how could you? I mean, with the extensive reshoots they forced him to do for Suicide Squad, and then how bad that performance was, like, received, and it just totally wrecked his career.
But he redeems himself in this movie. It's a much better Joker in this movie that I really love.
Yeah. So Jared Leto is infinitely better in this. We get some kick-ass dialogue specifically about Robin.
Yeah.
Where he, like, then the way they shot it too, and how it comes out of focus and then into focus, and it's this fucking terrifying shot of his face, and he tells him, "I'm ready to discuss in any way you see fit," or something like that. Why you sent a boy wonder to do a man's job.
That's a fucking amazing line.
That's such a chilling line. I love every part of that, and Jared Leto's face in that scene is just fucking nightmare fuel when it comes back into focus in that close up, and
so good.
It's just fantastic. Everything about it is great.
And then we get the Batman's response to that, which is he's talking about how Harley Quinn's dying in his arms, and she makes him promise that when he finally kills the Joker, and I love this line where he says, "And make no mistake, I will fucking kill you." I love that so much.
Yeah. So right after that, Superman shows up. Scary as shit. In the red and blue again. Which is interesting.
Oh, yes, it was.
In the last shot of the movie, he's in red and blue.
I think part of that is, part of that is because in the nightmare scene in BVS, he's wearing the red and blue.
Yeah, because they wouldn't let him do the black suit yet.
And
so then Bruce wakes up like he has before from his nightmare and gets up and hears the sound barrier break and goes outside his house, and instead of Superman being there, it's Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Finally revealing himself to someone.
To Bruce Wayne, yeah.
And he tells Bruce that his parents would be proud, which is a great line, and tells him that some call him the Martian Manhunter, which is fantastic. Awesome. And then he flies away, and the Justice League theme plays one last time, and
it's the end of the movie.
And that's it. That's all you get. I would probably give this movie like a 7.5 out of 10.
I think I would probably give it like a 7.5 to an 8.
Yeah.
I love the movie way more than the theatrical cut. No, not a perfect movie, but I think it's a really great movie.
It has its plot weaknesses, and it has some scenes that go on too long, and some scenes that do feel unnecessary still.
Yeah.
But the movie overall, as a whole, is so much better. I mean, especially after this, I'd probably give the old version of Justice League like a 5.
Yeah. I'd probably give it like a 4 or 5.
I don't hate it enough to give it like a 0,
yeah,
you know, but
it's definitely...
It is a rough watch now.
Not as good as this version. So, yeah.
All right. Well, 7.5 out of 10. That's our score.
Yeah. But when we